Let's get to basketball. Carolina and American on Friday night. This game, American led by about 5-10 minutes in. Then from that point forward, it was just a beatdown. And Carolina led by 9 at halftime and then outscored American 64-21 in the second half. That's an incredible score. And won 107-55. American's going to be one of the worst teams that Carolina plays all season. That's just a fact. No offense, American or Jackie Manuel. I like you both. So keep that in mind. But Adam, this was the Tar Heels at their best in that second half. We're 3 games in plus the 2 exhibition games, which is hard to believe they've only played 3 games. I feel like Carolina's played a lot more. And again, those 2 exhibitions obviously play into that. Right now, Carolina is not as consistent as it would like to be, and not many teams are consistent in the middle of November. But when Carolina's good, Adam, they're really, really, really good. This team's peak is very high. It feels to me as though the Heels would like to start games a little faster. I think that even includes the 2 exhibition games where Carolina, it feels like it takes 8 or 10 minutes for Carolina to rev up the engine. And that's point 1. Point 2 is clearly the defensive effort is what is guiding this team. When it is playing frantic defensively, it sets everything up for them. And number 3, Elliot Cadeau has been an absolute monster here early in the season. I thought he was the best player on the court on Friday night, and I think he's been Carolina's best player so far this season. And we know what R.J. Davis can do. We know the type of basketball Seth Trimble's playing, which is at a very high level as well. I think Cadeau's been the one that's been making things happen for the Heels.
64 points in one half of college basketball in which you didn't play your best players all of those 20 minutes. That is a lot of points.
Yep.
Cadeau.
Nobody played more than 29 and a half minutes in this. So nobody played over 30 minutes for Carolina in this game.
So the Tar Heels have some depth. Cadeau has been excellent. Every time I write about Elliot Cadeau, someone tweets at me, and I'm sorry, I don't remember who it is. Somebody put out a preseason list of the top 20 point guards in America. It was either John Rothstein or Andy Katz. I'm just guessing it was Andy Katz.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
But I don't, that could be completely wrong. And didn't have Cadeau on the list, not in the top 20. I'm assuming that was just a printing error or something.
Yeah.
Like the mimeograph machine didn't run off correctly is the only explanation.
How many Duke guys were listed as point guard on this?
Cooper Flagg was a point guard, obviously.
Yeah.
And to see him do it not just offensively, but also defensively on Friday, because in the first half when Carolina wasn't that good, it was Cadeau's defense who switched it from American somehow winning the game because they were making all the shots to then Cadeau decided he was just going to steal the ball and go down and get Carolina some baskets. That changed the game. And that's a different Cadeau than what we saw last year. And he's so fun to watch play because when things are going well, he loves it when other guys do well. And he has the ability to help them do well.
Well, you could see on probably the defining play of the game where Cadeau dove to the floor to steal it, saved it to Withers, popped right back up. Withers gave it back to Cadeau. All of a sudden, he's ahead of half everybody on the floor running that, I think it was 3-on-2 break. Tyson had drifted off to the corner where he had made a couple threes. Cadeau stared at him, which made American go that way, threw it to the right side to Jalen Washington for that big dunk where the great picture of Cadeau's I didn't realize how close Cadeau was. He was defending on the play, fired up with Jalen Washington. That was that summed up the game.
Do you think Hubert Davis will just clip that play from dive to celebration and just say, this is what I want Carolina basketball to be?
Yeah.
I mean, that to make the effort to dive and save the ball, that was good. But then to jump up and get back in the play, that's even better. And a lot of guys wouldn't have done that because they would have like posed on the ground to make sure everybody knew I got on the floor. And then to create the easy basket when really you had two options. But as Hubert Davis always says, make the easy play. He did, and then celebrated his teammates' success. I mean, that is Hubert Davis basketball, that one sequence. And Cadeau gives Carolina the opportunity to make those kind of plays.
It was good to see Carolina missed its first 10 3-pointers in this game. That part wasn't good to see. But then they made 7 of the last 12. It was good to see Cade Tyson make a couple of threes, and it's clear when he gets going that he's going to get going. R.J. Davis, Adam, let's start with Cade Tyson, then we'll get to R.J. Davis. Cade Tyson, 4 of 8, 3 of 7 from 3. I think 2 of those misses, he was maybe heat-checking himself a little bit after he had made a few. So that was good. Jalen Washington was very good in this game, 6 of 6 from the floor, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 18 points, a career high for him. Those two both stood out to me, Adam, as guys who, in Jalen's case, we've seen a little bit from, but his best game. And from Cade Tyson, you were hoping to see something, and then you did.
But I think Jalen Washington's 18 points were in 18 minutes.
Correct, 18 minutes on the dot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's going to be a 35-minute guy, but if he can give you 20-ish minutes that way, and then you put him with some of the other post options Carolina has, that's a very viable post presence for this year's version of Carolina. I really think that's the guy Cade Tyson is going to be. I think he's going to have some nights when it's not there, but then he's going to have some nights where he makes 3 or 4. The problem is, can you find out which guy you've got before you get too deep in the game? And I do think that's part of what happened at Kansas. Hubert Davis has seen him every day in practice, and he knows if it's not there, pull the plug. But if the first shot goes in, here we go, and you've got a different team. So it'll be interesting to see how Carolina manages that. He is certainly capable of doing it. I'm not sure that he's done it every day based on what the Tar Heels have seen at this level yet this year. But he certainly could turn into that player as he gets the feel of the speed of the game, the athleticism of the game that's different than what he's faced before. Could he become that? He could. You just have to manage him between now and then to make sure he still has the confidence to be that guy.
Adam, one more individual before we talk about R.J. Davis, and that was Drake Powell. 7 points, 11 rebounds, a steal, and 3 blocks, including one of the crazier blocks I've ever seen. And we've seen him do this, and apparently, as anybody who saw him play in Pittsburgh will quickly tell you, he did it in high school too, that he catches blocks. He doesn't block them, he catches them with 2 hands. And that in and of itself is impressive. I don't think I've ever seen someone literally jump over the guy who shot the layup and catch the layup. Adam, it was one of the wilder plays I've ever seen. And this was a game where our good friend James Brown and Ian Jackson did not play due to some minor lower body issues day-to-day, nothing major, but Carolina being very conservative with them. And even without those two guys, the athleticism that Carolina has is a level above what it has been in a while. And Drake Powell's athleticism and feel for the game is impressitive.
I would put that Drake Powell block with the Amarian Hampton touchdown in terms of some of the most physically dominant plays
I've ever seen. How do you even do that?
Like, if you're the guy who was going in for a layup and the guy blocks your shot, you're like, okay, that happens sometimes. If you're going in for a layup and the guy blocks your shot by catching it and then jumps over you, like, you might never shoot a layup again.
Yeah.
I'm only shooting threes from here on out. I mean, you should only be able to do that in middle school or something. Like, you've gone through puberty early and you're an 8th grader playing against like little guys, and then you like catch their layups and jump over them. Rah! Drake Powell's a freshman. Not like a reclassed freshman or a guy who's too old to be a freshman, just a real freshman. And he's capable of making plays like that. And I think he's a big part of the defensive potential this team has, because not only is he leading the team in blocks, but I think before the year's over, you're going to see Carolina use him on some kind of point guard who's giving Carolina trouble and put him out at the top and make that guy have to see around him and go around him, which is hard to do. And he's going to be a weapon that way too. He can do a lot of things. And I also really like that little drive to the free throw line and shoot a mid-range, which I know Tar Heels don't love the mid-range, but that's a shot he can get and a shot he can make. And until the perimeter shot comes along, plus that gets him closer to the rim. And anytime Drake Powell's closer to the rim, that is good for Carolina.
22-6 points off turnovers, 56-16 points in the paint, 23-0 fast break points. Dominant. And that leads us to R.J. Davis, who 5 of 13, 1 of 7 from 3. So he's just struggling. He's just struggling to shoot the ball. And I think the 3-point number, I mean, because obviously you take that away, 4 of 6 on 2-pointers is good. But those 3, a lot of them were open. And they just aren't going in right now. And I think he's probably, and I feel like maybe this was talked about some after the game, maybe in some press conferences. I'm not sure. I do think he's pressing a little bit to try and be the R.J. Davis that he was last season. I do think now when he's getting open looks, because he's missed some shots, it's, okay, this one's got to go in. And it's almost tense. It's like, please, let's get this one in, and then everything's gonna be fine after this if this one goes in. And then Adam, I do wonder how much of the kind of, I don't know, like the social part of it, and by that I mean, like, who are the other? When I say R.J. Davis, who do you think of? You think, like, if I'm saying, name me the other players when you think of R.J. Davis. I think you say Caleb Love. I think you say Armando Bacot. You probably say Leaky Black. Well, those guys are gone. It's like the page is 90% of the way turned from the last kind of era of Carolina basketball to this era of Carolina basketball, which is natural in college athletics, of course. And so I just do wonder if there's some part of it of where do I fit in if I'm R.J. Davis. I know I'm a very good basketball player, but how do I fit in with this group, which is now Cadeau and Powell and Seth Trimble, and how do I as R.J. Davis fit in with this group? I know how I fit in with Bacot and with Love and those guys. How do I fit in kind of in the grand scheme of things with this group? I would expect that I would be stunned if this was how R.J. Davis shot the ball all season long. Not saying it's impossible. I would be very surprised if that was the case. He's too good of a player. But it would be awesome to see him get back in rhythm a little bit because, Adam, Carolina scored 107 points in this game. The Tar Heels scored 89 points at Kansas. And R.J. Davis didn't shoot very well in either one of those games. What if he had shot well in this game? Would Carolina have scored 125 points? I'm not so sure that's out of the question. This team can score as well as any Carolina team in at least 15 years, at least. So if he can get comfortable and get there, watch out.
If there's a time for R.J. Davis to not shoot the ball well, this is the stretch.
Yeah.
Because it's enabled Elliot Cadeau to become the Cadeau that we've seen. It's enabled Seth Trimble to be the Trimble that we've seen. And I'm like you. I do think it's going to come around. I do think it's worth remembering that everything, what Jones mentioned and some other things in his social circle have changed. And that is tougher than people think. But I think it's also good for him to be able, like, if he was struggling and the team was struggling, I think that makes it worse for him because, I'm letting the team down. They can't win without me. That's not the case. The Tar Heels are pretty good without you. Imagine what they'd be with you. And let's also don't forget that when Carolina needed him against Elon,
that's right,
he was there. So it's not like he's forgotten how to shoot. But I do think, like, you can see him when he plays, and even on the 3 that he made against American, even he was kind of like, oh. And it was Cadeau who came running over, like giving him the 3 goggles. And like,
we need RJ's 3 goggles out there.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, so you can tell that he feels it. I mean, he knows the numbers better than anybody else does. But
yeah, that's right. I mean, I think Adam said this on the air. When he came in to talk to you after the Elon game, and you had the box score, and we're like, hey, you want to look at this? He was like, I don't want to look at that. So he very clearly is aware of it.
He said, I can't say exactly what he said, but what he basically said was, I was trash. And I was all ready to be like, RJ, you really saved the Tar Heels there. Then he was like, I was terrible.
Right.
I mean, your bar is a little higher than most people. You're the reigning ACC Player of the Year. He knows it, and he's going to figure it out because he's too smart not to. And when he does, which, I mean, Carolina needs him in Maui, let's be honest. When he does, Carolina's going to be that much better that some other guys have had to carry some weight here in the very, very early part of the year.
Yeah, the density of games is about to pick up. I mean, we had a few minutes ago, we said it feels like Carolina, it's strange it's only played 3 games. Well, it's going to play 4 games in, 6 days here coming up soon. So plenty of chances to see the Tar Heels soon.
Well, and one guy's not going to carry you through that stretch.
Oh, no.
You're going to need multiple guys because it's physically taxing.
And good teams.
Yes. So RJ Davis.
No Chaminade in this event.
Unfortunately. So RJ Davis might be bad one day and he could be great the next day. Seth Trimble might be bad one day and could be great the next day. That's the nature of playing that many games in a short time span.
Yeah, I
Only Joe Forte could manage to do that.
What's this, Randolph Childress in the Let me tell you about the 1995 ACC tournament. We barely even talked about Seth Trimble this year. Ho-hum, 13 points, 4 of 6 from the field, 4 of 4 from the free throw line, 6 rebounds. So he has really become a very steady player with some explosions as well, as we've seen. So fun team to watch. Ty Claude, Vin Allen Lubin, all these guys got in, made an impact. Claude was late in the game, but I did enjoy Ty Claude got out there. He was just ready to knock these fools out the way, get some rebounds, and get some points. Kind of like Ty. Look, Ty Claude's just there. Don't get in his way.
He's there to do what he does. John Holbrook got the biscuit basket.
Dante Mayo with a sweet step-back 3.
I like how everyone's surprised that Dante Mayo can play. Look, Dante Mayo will let you up in practice.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's no doubt. Adam, anything else here? Carolina's got a very difficult stretch upcoming at Hawaii on Friday night / Saturday morning, then Maui Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
19,000 plus in the building on a Friday night.
That was a great crowd.
Against American is ridiculous.
Great crowd. Good atmosphere. It was rocking in there in the second half when Carolina was rolling. It was a great night.
What's a fun team to watch play?
They are very fun to watch play. This team can, like I said, this team can score. It can score at a level. I'm not saying it's this team, but like 08, 09, 12, like some really good. It can at least score at that level. Now, defensively, maybe there's some other questions, but just straight putting the ball in the basket, it has that capability.